I think so. We're going to wait until we get Vinessa in here, and but we can chat a little bit beforehand. Um, I was saying I was excited to see the Fort Worth connection because I'm coming to you from Dallas.
Okay, awesome.
So that's fun. Um, and Erin was alerting me that you shot the film nearby Austin, correct?
Yep, we did. We shot outside of Austin in Dripping Springs. We all quarantined and lived together at a wedding resort, and our hero location was right across the street. So it worked out really well, actually. Geographically, it was kind of um, just what the doctor ordered in terms of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, now, I mean, and of course we've got a shit ton to talk to you about this film and what have you. But while we're waiting, well, how did it work with the protocols that you needed to do on set? What how much what did you guys do?
Well, it was back in August, so there wasn't that much shooting, and SAG and kind of all of the protocols were being announced, and we were assembling our own plan. The difference between other productions that were going on and us where we were all living together, quarantined, so nobody went in or out, and everyone was tested upon coming in, and obviously everyone had PPE gear on, but it wasn't like everyone was going out into the world. So once you were there, you were kind of there, and we were able to shoot everything safely, and was it was we didn't know what to expect because
Right.
we just hadn't done it that way before, but it did work out.
Right.
What was your
Vanessa, how are you doing? Now we got Vanessa on here. Can you hear us?
Hello. Hi.
Yes, and I apologize. I don't know what happened anyway. It was
You're good.
all
Nope.
Me
difficulties.
too. Donna was like, "Wait, what?"
You know, we were just
No
talking
problem.
earlier, so it's just got weird. Anyway, hello.
Okay, hi. Well,
Hello.
I'm John Wildman. I'm from Films Gone Wild, and
Hi,
we have with us Angela Tabora and Erin Lim. They are the Bitch Talk ladies.
Hey,
Yes.
from San Francisco, right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's raining a ton.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's raining here too. I'm in Santa Barbara right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're getting hit. Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah. It's so cold lately. It's crazy.
I was like, it feels like Sundance. Sure.
I know.
Exactly. Maybe that's why it's happening.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to hit freezing tonight in Dallas, so that's
There you go.
Weird. Wow.
Wow.
yes. Okay, so we're going to hit record and get this thing started. So just a moment. And we are on. This is our first interview for the combined filmsgonewild.com and Bitch Talk interviews, which we used to do this for the Daily Buzz radio in Sundance. And this year we're doing it Zoomerific with myself, John Wildman, and my partners, Angela Tabora and Erin Lim. And for our first one, The Blazing World. We've got our director. Usually I just say the director, but Carlson Young. I think you pretty much did everything but craft services on this show.
Yeah.
Writer, star, I think Gaffer Grip there, and Vinessa Shaw, one of the stars of the film. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes.
All right, well, we've got a lot to talk about, but to start off, for our audience members who have not had a chance to see The Blazing World, because it's about to make a world premiere, so nobody officially has seen this. Let's Carlson, why don't you introduce our audience to the film?
Sure. So, the Blazing World follows a young woman named Margaret as she is about to take her own life. But before she does, she's dragged to this secret inner world by Udo Kier to confront the traumas that are keeping her underwater. It's a fun psychological thriller fantasy. Pretty
Fun.
it's fun. Yeah, no, I mean it's dark. It's dark as hell, but I do think there's light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully people can see that too.
Well, I will start off this way because again, we've got a lot of avenues that we want to get both of you in on the conversation. But Carlson, I want to start with you because watching it, when I first started it, Justina was texting me, and I go, this is kind of like it's got a little Nick Rogue, Don't Look Back to it, and that's it started off, and then I was like going, holy crap, and now we've gone into Guillermo del Toro,
Cool.
and which and I was loving. I love those kind of transitions, and I love those kind of influences. And so I want to start off with, and I really do ask this, but what were your influences going into this film?
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro absolutely was one of them. Hitchcock, David Lynch. I've been watching a lot of Ingmar Bergman over the past 5 years of conceiving this project. I wanted to combine all of my favorite filmmakers, what I have taken as inspiration from my favorite filmmakers, and try to craft something unique, and that's my voice creatively. I'm like a Middle Earth freak at heart, and I also love horror. So I wanted to see what it would be like to combine those things.
I love that. Yeah. And it started off as a short that was loosely based on these dreams that you were having. So I'd love to hear more about how long did you keep a dream journal for, and how did you come up with the idea to transition that into dealing with trauma and depression? Because I think they really weave together beautifully.
Thank you. I had a dream journal for basically as soon as I started having the weird recurring dreams, probably in around 2015 or so at this point. And they were weirdly enough connected to dreams that I had as a child. I'm a lucid dreamer and I have an active dream life. So I have a handful of things that I really, really remember from dreams over the course of my life. So this was strikingly similar to stuff that I had experienced as a child, and things that I was really afraid of. I kept having this dream of this really green field surrounded by this forest and this fog and then this black hole. And so I started to dissect the dream and excavate it and try to just figure out what my subconscious was trying to tell me. And at the same time, I was studying Margaret Cavendish in school. And reading her, prose novel, The Blazing World, which was this utopian kind of reordering of her world, and the sort of fantasy component to her husband's scientific journal. I was just really inspired by her as a woman. And that's around the time I started keeping the dream journal. It took a while for me to excavate it to its fullest. It took years, and they were hard years. It was a challenge. I had to really fight to not only get the film made, but also just to refine the script and try to distill it into its clearest form. And this character's fantasy world is a reflection of trauma, and that resonated with me, and felt kind of modern in a way that Cavendish's was sort of utopian. Like, this is not utopian.
All right, I want to bring Vinessa in, because Vinessa, I don't know if you remember, but I was on your PR team way back in the day, during the Hills Have Eyes period, and stuff like that. And in fact, I remember watching the first screening of that film in MGM with you sitting there with the other publicist and what have you. And you have worked, and you've worked with some just a wide array of some of the top directors and some of the more visionary directors out there. And so I would love to have you talk about, because this is definitely a movie that's got a freaking vision to it. So I would love for you to talk about working with Carlson and being at the service of that, and what that was like for you.
Yes, I am so honored to be a part of this film with Carlson, because I feel honored to witness a filmmaker in the making. Like, you know, I really don't believe that filmmakers are really bred anymore. She just has it already. And I feel like upon reading the script, I noticed like how I felt while reading it. I just felt such a visceral feeling about each of the scenes and imagery that went along with it. It just felt fully fleshed out. And I'm sure Carlson would think, you know, differently. She would probably think, oh, I could have done something different here, because that's what always an artist thinks. But I just, you know, with the filmmakers and the auteurs I've worked with before, I always feel like they have like a sketch of what it is, but we're perfectionists in the process of it. But Carlson, from the beginning to end, had this full fleshed out, and what you read came on screen. And it's just incredible to see that this young woman is going to be like in her own generation. Like, she's kind of peerless. You know, there is the Lars von Trier. It kind of came up when I was reading it, like his movies, and of course like Darren Aronofsky and all the prior directors you mentioned. But while I was like about to, you know, perform and was preparing in our little cabin, our little cabins we had on this sprawling property in the plains of Texas, I decided to watch A Woman Under the Influence again. And Jenna Rollins, you know, in John Cassavetes' film, Jenna Rollins' character, I remember when I watched the first time, I just had never seen any acting like that, and felt like this is what I feel Alice is about to go through. She doesn't quite get to the full nervous breakdown, but the threads are coming through, and she's basically afraid. And when we went to set, this is why I'm telling you the story, is when we went to set, it kind of just punched it, like it just went, like punched it out of the window. I felt like we just basically created our own universe, you know, along with Shane, the DP. And there was this, you know, one scene that we're in, me and Carlson, and just, I felt like it was the quietest I'd been on a set in a long time. Kind of how I felt when I was working on Stanley Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut. There was like a moment where you kind of get into the zone, and you feel like you've exercised a lot to get to that place. And with Kubrick, it was like a million times over. But with Carlson, we kind of got there immediately, which is a testament to her. And I believe it's because she worked so hard on it on her own, not like every other director has her own method of working. But I just found out she had like emotional maps that she drew, which I kind of want to see. I'm jealous that everybody else saw it. Carlson.
They were just they were just in my binder. They were just in my binder.
I know, what is this binder?
I would leave it everywhere. That was the problem. It was like, who's seen my binder?
Maybe there's a secret key you need to unlock the binder. Just saying, symbolism.
Yes, I felt like, you know, as for example of this binder of things, you know, that's in her world, inner workings. It was just underneath the pressure of the amount of time we had to do this movie, she was fully prepared and ready to go into this world where basically you find the beauty in pain. And, you know, that's not easy to execute, you know, beautiful pain. That's why I just felt honored to be in the presence of that coming to life. And, you know, it shows you, if you really work hard and you flesh out your own idea and your own story, to the T that, you know, someone will resonate with it, but I feel like many people will resonate with this one.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to my question that I had for Carlson and Vinessa, if you want to chime in too. But going back to the conversation about trauma, where did the storyline come from for you, and why was it important to talk about toxic masculinity and not dealing with trauma and how it manifests for men? I thought that was a really strong storyline for Dermot.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there were a lot of parts of my own childhood that were really erratic and unpredictable and sometimes tumultuous and violent. And you know, I realized that I heard this, that we repeat what we don't repair. So I was really interested in the idea of, if we don't confront the things that have happened to us, perhaps in our childhood or otherwise, then there's a real reality in which we pass it down to our children. And, you know, it's kind of going back to like Jungian psychology of you know, to emerge successfully into adulthood, we must slay the mother and father character in our heads, and reconcile the mother and father wound. So it, at the risk of sounding esoteric, I just it took a lot of personal self-reflection for me, a lot of things I was going through personally, and just radical acceptance. And the reason why Alice and Tom are they're like Margaret has trapped them in her mind as these fixtures of that are born in this trauma, and she's in this trauma loop, and she can't get out of it. And James Finley says that what it is, it's there's a reality in which we don't transform trauma. The real brutal reality is that sometimes the trauma transforms us in really brutal ways. So this was really a meditation on that idea, and I think that by the end of it, you know, you see a 2-degree shift in you know, the character Margaret's mind, where she just makes a different decision, and her parents are like so open and like grateful for that, because her release of that trauma releases them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into, you shot this during a pandemic. You were all quarantining together, as Carlson said, at a wedding resort. I think there's something poetic about shooting a horror sci-fi while living at a wedding resort, but maybe that's just me. But I'd love to hear, what did you do to step away from this film at the end of the day, or did you just fully immerse? Did it help with the process that you were all living together and going through this, literally living side by side? If you want to start, Vinessa.
Yeah, I don't think Carlson had any time. She was just going from thing to thing, the poor thing. Meanwhile, Dermot and I were doing yoga next to a huge oak tree that was probably hundreds of years old, and just, you know, basking in the majesty of that oak tree. That really helped. But it was interesting the way that we broke up our scenes. Basically, we were working and then we were done. So you know, Dermot had started, you know, I saw him a couple times doing our yoga to kind of de-stress and decompress. But then he was on and he had to go and do all the scenes with Carlson. And then it was my turn. It was kind of like our turn in the ring with Carlson. How's she gonna beat us up and make
like
make us cry and make us, you know, virtually scary in every way. So that was what we did. But I think they had a really fun rap party without me. I think I saw something.
It was a rap party of sorts.
Karaoke.
Not a real rap party without you, of course. But the only person who was there at that time was Udo. The way that we kind of had scheduled, there was always one actor on the camp, other than me. So everyone was blocked out so as not to have too much risk and too much overlap. But yeah, unfortunately.
Well, you know that it's great. It's great that we can finish this talking about Udo Kier, because the perpetually batshit crazy Udo Kier. I mean, he's just amazing and awesome and everything that you want to add spice to your film. Carlson, you've got to talk about working with him.
Oh my God. I mean, he's a legend, obviously, but I mean, he's just he's an insanely intelligent and kind and just wildly creative man. And you can obviously tell that in his work, but just getting to know him as a human being, I'm like, I mean, he's one for the ages. He's extremely deep as an actor, and he's got this, eccentric quality about him that's really just magnetic to watch. I wrote it for him. I've been obsessed with him for like ever. So, he adds exactly, like, you're right. He's the perfect little spice to this recipe, and he really, he was the first actor that we attached. So it's great.
That's amazing.
Udo's so great. He basically, once he arrived, he was just like, "Hello, everyone," and just
yeah.
He completely, like, if he doesn't know who you are, he's like, "Who are you?" It's just he's very interested in knowing who everyone is and around him. And, okay, where's the party? Where's the fun? Kind of, just amazing.
We had when I was at Lincoln Center, we had a screening of the film The Theater Bazaar, which he was one of the stars of. And it was on Halloween night, and it snowed that evening in New York City. And Udo was not happy with the audience because we hadn't filled the house completely. So he went out on Broadway and sold tickets himself personally.
Oh my
God!
Yes. And he comes and says, "I don't understand. Why are not people here?" And it was hilarious. But listen, I mean, this film, again, and I don't say that lightly, that there clearly is a vision here. It's just got, I mean, we didn't get into the production design. It's just got all kinds of stuff working on its behalf, including just a fantastic trio of actors at your service, Carlson, with Vinessa, Dermot, and Udo. Congratulations on the world premiere of The Blazing World at Sundance, and thank you for being on Films Gone Wild and Bitch Talk.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks. So awesome.
I can't believe that story about Udo. It's so funny.